Let's learn how to knit the dip stitch. This is a fascinating technique where you dive down and make these beautiful long stitches that create like a scale or a shell type of motif. So this is the treasure trove sweater. You do a technique called dip 3 with 3 stitches. A dip 4 works with 4 stitch motif. And dip 5 works with 5 stitches. So you can increase the dips and get different sizes of this motif. So in this video, I'm gonna show you the dip 3, the dip 4, and the dip 5 technique so you can knit the treasure trove sweater. These are also the techniques used in the treasure trove hat, the treasure trove cowl, or any of my other dip stitch designs. So look at this beautiful effect. It looks like entrelac or kind of crochet even, but it's done with knitting, working with one color at a time. So depending on your pattern, you might need to do a dip 3, a dip 4, or a dip 5. So follow the timestamps linked down below, and you could skip ahead in this video to watch me show you English style knitting or continental style knitting, or you might want to skip ahead in this video if you're all ready to do the dip 5 technique. But I'm gonna start with the dip 3, showing you both knitting styles, whether you hold the yarn in your right hand or your left hand. So use the timestamps linked down below so you can watch the correct technique. And otherwise, I'm gonna show you in sequential order, the dip 3, and then we'll do the dip 4 and the dip 5. Are you ready? Dip 3. I'm working the dip stitch at the beginning of a round, and the pattern says dip 3 to end of round. I just broke my old color and I'm using a new color for the dip 3. So get your new color. Dip 3. Knit 1 by inserting the right needle down 3 rounds and to the left of the 3rd stitch. What does that mean? We're going to insert the right needle to the left of this 3rd stitch down 3 rounds. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to go into the space between stitch number 3 and number 4. Okay, so here's 1, 2, 3 rounds down. Go in between the 2 stitches to pull the new color through. And we're gonna make a long stitch. Pull the yarn through to create a long stitch that matches the length of 3 stitches or 3 rounds. So when you pull the yarn through, it's gonna match the length of these 3 stitches. So these 3 stitches are about that long. That stitch should be a similar length. So just pull some extra length through. And then the last step is knit 1. That's the first dip. Now, to complete the dip 3, we need to do that 3 times. And each time we're gonna go a little bit higher. So now knit 1 by inserting the right needle down 2 rounds and to the left of the 3rd stitch. So we went down here, now we go into here, just 2 rounds down. Pull the yarn through to match the length of 2 stitches. So it's gonna be a little bit shorter, not quite as long as that dip stitch. So don't stop there, pull a little bit more yarn through. And then knit 1. Finally, knit 1 by inserting the right needle down 1 round and to the left of the 3rd stitch. So down 1 round is right here, and this will be a regular length of a stitch. And then knit 1. That's the dip 3. So the dip 3 produces twice as many stitches. So it worked with 3 stitches and now you have 6. Let's do that again. Every time it says dip 3, that was dip 3 completed. We need to dip 3 again, working with these 3 stitches. We're gonna go down to the left of that 3rd stitch. 1, 2, 3. Pull the yarn through and give it a long stitch. So I just pull the yarn through and just stop there. Purposefully make a long stitch, and then knit 1, and then go down into the 2 rounds below, going in between stitch number 3 and stitch number 4, knit 1, and go 1 row below to knit that final stitch. There we go. Let's do that one more time, and then I'll show it for you English style knitters. Dip 3. Go down 1, 2, 3, in between stitch number 3 and number 4. Pull the yarn through and give it a long stitch. Knit 1, go down 2 rounds, knit 1, and go down just 1 round. A regular stitch, knit a regular stitch. So you see that first one was longer, and that creates the beautiful scale, kind of a scale or like a shell effect. And you're always going between the 2 stitches. So if you hold the yarn in your right hand, you're going to do the same technique, going down 1, 2, 3, wrap the yarn around the needle and pull it through. And as you pull it through, give it a little extra pull so that stitch matches the length of 3 stitches. It doesn't have to be exact, as long as it's kind of a long stitch, okay? And now we go down 2 rounds, pull it so it's a little bit long to match the length of 2 stitches, knit 1, and finally we just go down 1 round, pull the yarn through and knit the next stitch. For the dip 3, let's do that one more time for you English style knitters. Whenever you do the dip, you always go into the same column. We go here and knit 1, and then here and then knit 1, and then here and knit 1. So 1, 2, 3. Pull the yarn through, give it a little extra length there. Knit 1, go down 2 rounds, knit 1, and go down 1 round. And knit 1. That's all there is to it. Now I'm going to show you how to do that technique once you get to the end of the round. It might feel a little different. So keep on going with your pattern, whether you're knitting the hat or a sweater or a cowl. Keep on going with that dip 3 technique. Pull the yarn through, give it a long stitch, knit 1, pull the yarn through, a long stitch, but not quite as long as that one. And again, there's no perfect length, just feel it out. As long as this one's the longest, and this one's still long, and this one's not quite as long, there should be slightly different lengths from those 3 stitches. And always go in between stitch number 3 and number 4. You're always going here into the space between the stitches and not here. Don't go here, don't go there, not right below the stitch, in between the stitches. Keep on practicing. When you have to do the dip stitch at the end of the round, you have a broken tail of yarn from that old color, and make sure you are looking at that broken tail of yarn because that gives you one of these little ladders that we're looking at. So as you go down to dip 3, this is that broken tail of yarn. It's really loose and floppy, but right below that broken tail, that's gonna be our final stitch. So we count from here. 1, 2, 3. This is where we go down for the first dip. Pull a long strand through, knit 1. Here's the second one. Pull a long strand through and knit 1. And then for that final one, I'm going below that broken tail of yarn. It feels really loose and kind of sloppy, but just go below that tail of yarn to knit that final stitch, and then you knit the final stitch on your needle. So that's how the final dip stitch works. It feels a little loosey-goosey, but just make sure you have your eye on that broken tail of yarn. And then you can always weave in that end later to tighten up the situation, and then keep on going. The final step of the dip stitch, no matter what kind of dip you're doing, if you're doing a dip 3, a dip 4, a dip 5, the next round is a slip, slip, knit round. So these are all the dips, and it says slip, slip, knit to end of round. We're going to slip 1 knitwise, slip the second stitch knitwise, knit 2 together through the back loop. And we're gonna do that all the way across the round. Slip, slip, knit. Slip, slip, knit. So we doubled our stitch count on the previous round, and now we're decreasing back to our original stitch count. Slip, slip, knit. Slip this first stitch knitwise, the second stitch knitwise, knit those two together through the back loop. For you English style knitters, if it looks a little clustered, you could pull on that first stitch just to loosen it up and slip it knitwise, knitwise, knit those two together through the back. Do that all the way to the end of the round, and then you should have your original stitch count again. Let's do the dip 3 again with the new color. I just worked 4 total rounds, and a good way to count your rounds is counting that dip stitch first. That was round 1 with the new color, and then the next stitch, that's round 2, round 3, round 4. So I'm working 4 rounds of each color. And if you lose count, just count that long stitch as 1, and then 2, 3, 4. 4 rounds completed. And I break my old color that I just worked with, join a new color, and we're gonna dip 3 to end of round. Once you start layering all these dip stitches, this is what it looks like. We have 3 stitches. We're gonna go in between stitch 3 and 4, and this is 1, 2, 3. So it's in this space. There's kind of a cluster down there, but if you look closely, this is 1, 2, 3. This space right here. Pull a long strand through. The first one always feels a little sloppy, but don't worry. And then this is the second one. And then knit 1 regular. And here's the third stitch. Just go down 1 and knit 1. I'm gonna do that one more time and show you how I weave in ends as I go. So this technique, you have to break your yarn after all of these color changes if you're doing the stripes in the treasure trove designs. So let's weave in ends as we go so we have minimal finishing. So dip 3, 1, 2, 3. Pull a long strand through, knit 1. Now I'm gonna take my old tail and my new tail of yarn, and I'm gonna cross them on top of my working yarn to weave in ends as we go. Here's the next dip, knit 1, and the final dip, knit 1. Oops, let me go back. I need to keep doing the weave in Stephen. That was the point of this whole thing. Okay, so I'm doing my dips. Okay, so this was the second dip in my knit 1. And so after every knit stitch, you can do that wrap. Let's do the final dip. Here we go. This is the point of what I'm showing. And wrap. Okay, let's keep doing that. Let's do that weave in Stephen crisscross technique for like 10 or 12 stitches. So we're gonna go down 1, 2, 3 for the dip 3. And after you knit 1 stitch regular, you can do that weave in Stephen crisscross. And dip 2 rounds below. There's the regular knit stitch. Do the weave in Stephen cross. So we're layering all our techniques so we don't have to weave in so many ends. All right, if you hold the yarn in your right hand, let's do the dip. 1, 2, 3. Get your working yarn wrapped around. Pull a long strand and then do a regular knit 1. And then you can take those tails of yarn and cross them on top after you do that regular knit stitch. We're going 2 rounds below to pull a long strand through, regular knit 1, and then you can do a little crisscross. So I'll keep on doing that for like 10 or 12 stitches or so of these regular stitches. And then once you're done doing that crisscross, you can just leave the yarn hanging, and we wove in the end to the wrong side as we're knitting, so you don't have to sew in as many ends at the end of your project. So you're gonna get some little spaces, some little holes like that. That's normal. It's all gonna get nice and squishy when we finish this texture. But try that weave and Stephen technique as you introduce every new color on the first round of every new color, and then you won't have to do as much sewing and finishing at the end of your project. Keep on going with the dip stitch. Dip 4. Whenever you're doing a dip 4 stitch, it's going after the 4th stitch and before the 5th stitch. So you're going to count between those 2 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, in the space between the stitches. And when you pull your yarn through, you're going to pull a long length through that goes, your needle's going to go from here to here, matching the length of 4 stitches for a really long stitch. Knit 1, and then you're going to go 3 rows below, 3 rounds below, make a long stitch, knit 1, and then 2 rounds below between the stitches. You're making a little bit of a shorter stitch just for that 2 round below stitch, and 1 round below for the final stitch, knitting a regular stitch after each dip stitch. Let's do that a couple more times. Dip 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the 4th stitch. Go in between the 4th and the 5th stitch. So we're going down here and count 1, 2, 3, 4. Down into that space. 4 rounds below, making a long stitch. Knit 1, down 3, knit 1, down 2, knit 1, and 1, knit 1. Just like that. As you repeat it more and more, you don't have to think too much about getting that perfect exact length of yarn for those dip stitches. Just dive down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Dive down here for the dip 4. Just pull the needle. You don't have to think about it too much. Just as you pull the yarn through, just match your needle like tip to tip right there. And then the natural length that it has to stretch is going to be long enough. Don't think about it too much. Knit 1 regular, go down 3 rounds below, knit 1 regular, 2 rounds below, knit 1, and knit 1 round below. Knit 1. All right, one more time for you English style knitters, holding the yarn in your right hand, dip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go between stitches 4 and 5 and go down 1, 2, 3, 4. In between those 2 stitches, pull the yarn, making a long stitch, knit 1 regular, and 3 rounds below. Pull a long strand through, knit 1 regular, 2 rounds below, knit 1, and 1 round below, in between those 2 stitches. There we go. All right, one more time for you English style knitters. You got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, dip 4. Go between stitches 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull a long dip stitch. Knit 1 regular, 3 rounds below, and get a long stitch. Knit 1 regular, 2 rounds below. We don't need a stitch quite as long, just a little bit long. Knit 1, and 1 round below. All of this was dip 4. You are getting 8 stitches from those 4 stitches, and then the same technique on the next round, you're going to slip, slip, knit all the way across the round, working these 2 stitches together, working these 2 stitches together, and these 2, and these 2. That's on the next round for the slip, slip, knit, and that's the dip 4. Dip 5. I'm going to break the color that I just finished. When you work the dip 5 stitch, make sure you have just completed 6 rounds with that previous color, so you can count the stitch on your needle as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That long stitch is counted as 1 round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds, ready to go for dip 5. Using a new color, knit 1 by inserting the right needle tip down 5 rounds and to the left of the 5th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the 5th stitch. We're gonna work that dip stitch into this column between stitches 5 and 6. So after stitch 5, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds down. It's also that little space. There should be a little space there. So go into that space, pull the new color through, and pull that length of yarn to match the length of 5 stitches. So pull the yarn through to make a long stitch. Knit 1. Knit 1 by inserting the right needle down 4 rounds and to the left of that same stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull a long stitch through to match the length of those 4 stitches. Knit 1. Now we're going down 3 rounds below. Knit 1, 2 rounds below. Knit 1, and 1 round below. Knit 1. That is the dip 5. The dip 5 works with 5 stitches, and you get 10 stitches coming from those 5 stitches. Dip 5 to end of round. Let's dip 5 again. I'll show for you English style knitters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 5th stitch. So we're going all the way down here, in between these 2 stitches. When you pull the yarn through, get a long stitch that matches the length of 5 stitches. Knit 1, and now we're going 4 rounds below. Knit 1, 3 rounds below. Knit 1, 2 rounds below. Knit 1, and 1 round below. Knit 1. There we go. Look at that dip 5. It's really exaggerated and makes a beautiful shell or scale type of effect. Let's do it a couple more times. Dip 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go all the way down. Whoop, dropped a stitch. Go all the way down between stitches 5 and 6. All the way down here. Pull a long stitch through like that. Knit 1, 4 rounds below. Knit 1, 3 rounds below. Knit 1, and 2 rounds below. Knit 1, and that last dip stitch. 10 stitches. Let's show for you English style knitters, and what happens if you make a mistake? Like, what if you don't go all the way down and you go down here first? So if we're looking 5 rounds below, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I should go into here. But if you don't, And as you're doing that dip stitch, you're reaching the end of your dips and you're not getting it just doesn't look right. Let me make some mistakes and see. What if I accidentally do 2 dips in a row? Oh my gosh, what are we doing? Okay, don't do what I'm doing, okay? I'm doing some weird stuff. But you might be doing this new technique, it's new to you, and you're like, whoa, 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 what is going on? This isn't right. So you can tink back by just making sure you rescue those stitches. Take out that new color stitch. Oh my gosh, I did so many funky dips. So just rescue those stitches and make sure they're back on your left needle. Okay, let's try again. Dip 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Keep on practicing. It's so fun and beautiful once you get the hang of it. And again, don't think too much about getting that perfect yarn length. As long as it's kind of a long stitch, it's all going to even out and look fine. This is my 3rd, going down 3 rounds, going 2 rounds below, and knit 1, and 1 round below, knit that final 5th stitch. Beautiful. Keep on going, and that's the dip stitch, and you'll do that same slip, slip, knit on the next round all the way across to get back to your stitch count. Look at those beautiful dips. Isn't that just a beautiful technique to show off those elongated dip stitches? I'm just mesmerized by how gorgeous that technique looks by just doing something fancy on 1 round. So give it some practice. If you're struggling a bit the first time you're trying this technique, then give yourself a bit of grace. Just practice. It's not a race, okay? Just have some fun and give it a little bit of patience. And once you master that technique, you're gonna have so much fun knitting the treasure trove sweater, or you could do that cowl. This works with the dip 3, and then the dip 4, and then the dip 5. It's so fascinating to knit this stitch and apply colorful stripes to all those fun dip stitches. So I hope you have fun, and let me know what you think of this technique. Is it hard for you, or is it really easy once you get the hang of it? So I hope you get inspired and try that technique out on some of my designs. And I'm gonna link to all these patterns too down below. So if you wanna knit the cowl or the sweater or hat or any of my treasure trove or dip stitch designs, let's learn something new and make some beautiful painterly color palettes with the dip stitch.